Hey guys, so quickly preface this. We weren't sure if this whole CRX B series was going to become a series. So sometimes when we were dynoing, we didn't have our videographer with us and we weren't collecting the correct images and footage stuff for you guys. So I'm going to have to do a quick voiceover here. So the car totally stock. It had I think it was a Type R ECU or something. It was a second-hand thing. The stock ECU. So this one revved a little bit higher than a factory ECU would on a normal GSR, which that engine's from. The headers were really bad and the exhaust was, it was a shocker. Like it was, I think it went down to 2-inch, or it looked like it was made out of like fencing pipe and stuff like that. So as you've seen, we've got some headers from JDM yard, and we stuck that exhaust on it as well. So I'm trying to remember back here, but I believe the dyno runs you're seeing here at 95 kilowatt, that was actually with the headers and exhaust on it. Again, totally stock. It's not tuned or anything as such. The airbox, I don't even know what the airbox is from. It was just in the car. It's a Honda item, but we don't know what it is. We just start our tuning adventures from there. So what we did after that was put the Link ECU on the car and tuned it up, and Alex was happy with a net result. I think it was about 105 kilowatts. We're obviously not going to try and push anything and blow it up. We were taking baby steps, but we were happy with the results. So yeah, that was our tuning adventures for this time. But as you follow, we'll follow from the series. When we start doing further mods, we will be putting pistons and rods and all the good gear from Real Street in the engine, and some camshafts and things like that. So, all right, back to it. Adjust the rear camber, and that slots into there. Open this up in a second. You can wind it up and down in comparison with the two shocks. I'm pretty sure we've replaced every part. Hey guys, here we are back at HQ. So we've got the 95 Del Sol / CRX with us, powered by the B18. So guys, anyone that's raced a Honda front wheel drive before is well aware of the traction issues that you have if your suspension is not correctly dialed in, especially with when you're accelerating, it ruins the toe, so it pulls it out of alignment. All right, so we've spoken to the guys at JDM yard in Sydney. They're also the Australian distributor for Hardrace products. We've used Hardrace in our other development cars as well with great success. So we've reached out to them to get any part that they believe will help us on the quarter mile for our development purposes. So we've got here let me read it, we've got a front adjustable uppers, engine mounts, hardened engine mounts, a rear upper camber kit, our solid shifter bearings, hopefully won't miss too many gear shifts. We've got our front bushings, which is a push-in item, which will be a pain in the ass, but that's something you got to do. Solid links for the sway bars. And we've got our front lower control arms, and we have our front traction bar kit. People who have raced Hondas before, they'll understand how important a traction bar setup is. So again, a front wheel drive, when you're accelerating, it pulls forward, it pulls the front wheels out of alignment, and your traction dramatically drops. So what we're going to do now is crack these boxes open, raise the car up, and get them installed. So here's the front upper adjustable arms. So I'm just going to quickly pull this out of the box and do a little bit of an explanation on why front upper arms are important, or adjustable upper arms are important when racing or for street, fast street or circuit, things like that. So what you've got here is your upper mount. By adjusting the top of this, adjusts the tilt or the camber of your wheel. So when you're drag racing, you want the wheel completely flat on maximum acceleration. So when the car lifts up, you may actually have to have a little bit of negative camber, so when it lifts, it'll straighten out to zero. Again, on rear wheel drive cars, sometimes you have a positive camber, so when it squats, it goes back to zero. So having this adjustable will allow the wheel alignment guys to dial that in. So what this kit comes with is your adjustable uppers here for the new arm. These are the mounts that the arm connects to. So this goes up into the chassis, and that connects here. Now these are harder rubber, so it again stops that movement and stops the wheel from going out of your desired or preset wheel alignment. There's a couple little small boxes here. We've got the universal, the stabilizer links, universal adjustment. Now these are for your sway bars. So that's a solid adjustable link. So when you're tracking the car, which we are going to track this car as well, that will take any a bit of movement out of the soft bushing. So it means it loads up the sway bar quicker and gets more use out of the sway bar. So what that does is it gets rid of the rubber bushes. So when you are cornering, it will put load onto the sway bar earlier, which will give you a sharper response when cornering. So instead of the rubber deforming, you've got a solid spherical bearing in here. Another little part we picked up, you know, with the age of these cars, what is it, 30 years almost, shifter bushes, new shifter linkage or bushes. So that should hopefully tighten up those gear shifts and potentially stop us from missing a gear. So here is a rubber bushing set that you are required to push into the suspension components yourself. You normally do that with a press. That's going to be a pain. And here we've got our engine mounts. So I'll show you what these look like. So we've got nice new rubber mounts, so we don't want solid ones. That will make it a bit uncomfortable to drive, but these are firmer than the factory ones, so that will affect some of the ride. I've just unwrapped all these. These are a full complete set of engine and gearbox mounts from Hardrace. They replace all the OEM stuff. This will stop our engine from rattling around, especially on the big launches, and also when we go all-wheel drive, that's going to put more load on the mounts as well. So it should allow us to grab gears a bit easier, as you don't really want the whole thing rattling around. That does affect your gear linkages and the ratios. All right guys, so this is the front compliance bush. So I believe this will be a bush that needs to be pushed into the subframe or some other suspension component. Oh, it's a bolt-on, it's even better. That's it there. So this mount I actually have no idea about. I'm assuming there's some sort of component that bolts to it, and that's a harder rubber. It feels extremely hard. So once we get underneath the car and install that, we'll work out where it goes. So we saw the front upper before, here's the rear upper. Now it'll be a similar situation. Here it is here. You loosen these two nuts, and by spinning this center piece, that changes the length or the distance between these two centers, which adjusts the rear camber. Now again, if you're circuit racing, you would have negative camber for when the car rolls, it gives more grip. And for us, since we're primarily going to be drag racing and street, we will have it more towards 0 degrees. So we probably won't go to plus for the squatting, which I mentioned earlier, because we will circuit it, so we'll probably be fairly close to 0 for street driving. So here we have the front lower control arm set. Again, it replaces all the factory rubbers, which would be all worn out and flogged out. So again, nice new hard rubbers. And I think we've got rubber in this end as well. It could be a spherical bearing, but it appears to be rubber, hard rubber. So this would go maybe that way, and then you've got your front hub that goes here. This would be your suspension arm that goes there, and possibly a sway bar or things like that. But again, you'll see that as we bolt it on later on. All right, last on the list is the traction bar set. Now, traction bars are a major advantage or requirement these days if you're racing front wheel drive or four wheel drive Hondas. It stops the front wheels from pulling out of alignment and ruining your traction. So let's take a look inside. All right, so here is the main chunk of metal that is required for the traction bar. So I'm going to assume this is the back of the car. This must bolt to somewhere. It looks like it's adjustable too. And then your front bars would go from here to your front lower arm. So let's crack open the next box and have a look. Oh, here's the good stuff here. Lots of components that I have no idea about yet. All right, I know what those are. And what else we got here? More brackets for adjustment by looks of things. This one looks like it potentially mounts. This looks like it mounts to the front lower arms. Again, we'll go into more detail once we start bolting these up. Why can't I get into this one? All right, so there's the front. Geez, that's solid. Yep, so we've got spherical bearings. This is going to attach something like that, or like that. And then it's going to attach on the other end, like this, on the front arm, which we just looked at. So I've quickly read some instructions, and I've found that this does require welding if you have the OEM front lower control arm. So they come supplied with the weld-on brackets. So if you don't want to purchase the Hardrace upgraded front arms, you will have to weld those to your original arms. Luckily us, since we did buy the complete kit from Hardrace, they have a piece that bolts directly onto it, so we don't have to weld it. So that's a bonus. Guys, so what happens is you bolt this to there with the supplied fasteners. Now you have that mount, which again, if you have the OEM one, you can weld that to it. Then you get your new arm, and that slots into there and gets mounted up to your front, and that stops this from moving forward under acceleration. So yeah, great quality stuff, and very happy with that. Okay guys, so I got stuck into fitting the new Hardrace suspension components. It took all of about 10 minutes for me to discover the front left shock absorber was leaking oil, and it's completely gone. When we used to drive the car around, we did notice some little clunks and stuff, but we didn't know what it was because there was so many older suspension components. It probably is the shock absorber. Here it is here. As you can see, it's covered in oil and dirt. So yeah, it's completely blown and it's lost all its fluid. I reached out to the guys at JDM Yard, the distributors for Hardrace in Australia, and we managed to grab ourselves a set of coilover suspension. We'll open this up in a second and I'll show you what's inside. Now, a couple other things. Whilst I was over at JDM Yard, I picked up some new injectors. They're the clips and plugs you need. So we've got some Bosch 1650cc injectors, and they are designed for a B series. They have all the adapters required for that. Plus we picked up a 4-bar map sensor, since we are going turbo in the not too distant future, as well as some new Goodrich brake lines, braided brake lines, along with some Motul brake fluid. So as all projects start to spiral out of control, this is well on its way down that path. So this is the shock absorber we pulled out of the car. It's completely covered in filth and oil. There's no real point sort of trying to rebuild these due to the age of the car, and yeah, who doesn't like buying new toys anyway? So yeah, we've gone with the Hardrace coilovers. We've got their street set up, so they've said it's valved for the street. It will be okay at the track, which we will do some track driving with this, and we'll do some episodes on that. But yeah, we'll get the new shock absorbers installed and yeah, keep you up to date. All right guys, it is raining at the moment in Sydney, so we are getting a bit of noise with the rain on the roof. So what this is a 4-bar map sensor. This plugs in, this is a Honda one. This plugs into the OEM wiring, which the Link ECU is using, and that will allow you to run 3-bar above atmospheric pressure, 1 bar being 14.7, so you're looking at roughly 45 psi of boost pressure. Our little B series won't be going that high, but that'll be handy. These injectors, I'll just quickly open this up. So when you're ordering injectors, buying them from different companies, especially like JDM Yard, for example, they're Honda guys. So they actually supply them with the correct adapters, so you can bolt them straight into your stock inlet manifold, or in our case, we're running a Skunk 2. So that will make that job nice and easy for the guys over at BIRRONG Automotive, because I'll be tuning that soon with the larger injectors. And another thing we picked up was some new Motul brake fluid. I'm guessing this car's probably never had new brake fluid in its life, so that'll all be going in. And here is the braided brake lines. I haven't opened this up, so let's see what we got there. All right, we've got 2 front, 2 rear. That's always good because the car's got 4 wheels. So if anyone has fitted these before, it's always a great little mod to make your pedal feel nice and firm. Yeah, I highly suggest that for anyone that's rocking an older car. This one's touching on 30 years old soon, so yeah, got to get that maintenance sorted. I left my truck out last night, and this was in the bed of it, and it decided to rain, so the box has held up pretty well. All right, so there will be, I can see here that there's the body, and as you saw before, the original, the OEM fork will need to get attached to that. These are a one-way, I think, adjustable. They might be one-way or they might be preset. I'll have to look into that. Again, it's just for a street car, so I'm not going to be making adjustments and trying to set records. All right, so this looks like it's the rear one. It's got little spaces there. Yeah, but who doesn't like shiny new parts? So with adjustable suspension, some shock absorbers, coilovers have base height adjustment. So that means you can wind it up and down, which changes the length, which can change the height or the position of your chassis to the ground. There's different trains of thought on how to do that, either through base adjustment or by winding down the spring and reducing the travel of the shock. So those decisions for setting up the suspension, we're going to leave that to the guys over at DNA. They're over in Sydney as well here, so they know what they're doing. We'll get them to set this up the way they want. So here's a little quick comparison with the 2 shocks. As you can see, there's the cast mount, which needs to be loosened off and transferred across to the new shock absorber. The first thing I notice is the spring diameter is reduced on the Hardrace. Again, I'm not a suspension expert, so yeah, that may affect how soft they are. Again, that could be down to the material. But again, I don't know if these ones are base height adjustable. The D2s, they appear to be. The Hardrace are adjustable. There's a little adjuster for dampener. So that's your initial hit on the spring, and then so the compression, and then rebound is the stroke after the bump. So guys, yep, let's get them installed. All right, so we've got the shock, well, both shocks in and the upper arms. We go through and tighten all that stuff. The sway bar that's disgusting, and here's the rubbers. One of them is bent. The sway bar bush thingies. Yeah, we'll see what we can spare on it tomorrow and try and get some more done. All right guys, we're back out here at Sydney International Dragway. We've just had all the suspension components that we could literally buy from Hardrace thrown at the car. I'm pretty sure we've replaced every part except for the rear trailing arm main bush, which is a rubber thing that will be switched out when we go all-wheel drive. So we have already purchased the spherical bearing unit from JDM yard, but there was no point putting it in as they will be changing later on. We've taken the car over to Ian Porter. He's down in Kirrawee, New South Wales. He does all the wheel alignments and corner balancing. So we've actually had the coilovers adjusted to set the corner balancing up with a driver in the car with 100 kilos. We've also adjusted the camber to hopefully give maximum traction on launch. So with front wheel drives, when you're drag racing, you don't set them at 0. You set them, this one's set at 1 degree neg. So when the car lifts up, it squares up the tires for even more traction as the car sort of shifts its weight. So hopefully we can do some respectable 60 foot times, but I'm guessing we're going to be in the 2.1, 2.2s as they are just street tires. So we would have liked to have had this car back on the dyno to have play with the tune and make sure it's absolutely spot on. But again, we've run out of time, so that'll be off to BIRRONG Automotive shortly to add some more sensors and also switching over to coil on plug ignition system. We're going to use some K20 coils, and we're also switching to a late model B series crank trigger system to give us some more resolution and hopefully some more power. All right guys, let's get it scrutineered and get out on the strip and see what I can do.
Right guys, so that's a wrap for this evening. We only managed to get 3 passes in. I'm not sure the driving was ideal either. First pass was a 15.5 at 92.4, then a 15.23. Thanks for the burnout guys, at 94.7, which was great. So what we did was, between the first run and second run, we ran the exhaust valve open, which opens up a 3-inch bypass effectively after the header. So we noticed a 2 mile an hour, almost 2.5 mile an hour pickup with that. So going into the third run, I was feeling confident to possibly do a 14, which would have been nice. But I did try flat shifting third to fourth, and I think the clutch may have slipped. So we ran a 15.20, which was the quickest, but we dropped our mile an hour to 91.8. So I think whatever the technique was on that pass wasn't ideal. The car felt strong, but it just didn't show in the mile an hour. The 60 foot on the last 2 runs was 2.39 and 2.33. So the car's struggling to get off the line because it has no LSD, and it's just got some, I think, Bridgestone, Kumo street tyres, so they're just spinning. So not sure if we're going to go to the 4-wheel drive system yet. Probably not. Going to do some more sensors and try and get a bit more power out of the car and try and get that mile an hour up to the 95 sort of mark consistently. So guys, thanks very much for tuning in, and let's get this thing back on the dyno, making some more power.